Coming to you live from the Now Media Newsroom.
I mentioned that this is when Marco Rubio gave Donald Trump that note. When Marco Rubio walked in the room, I watched this whole press conference here. And this is what Ian and I do. We watch all this stuff all day long so that we can do this show. Like we endlessly watch significant events. And this was a significant event. He was at an Antifa roundtable there where you had a bunch of journalists and a bunch of independent journalists and a bunch of what you call new media, I guess, around the table. They're talking about their experiences with Antifa. But let's play this clip here when he gets the note from Marco Rubio.
Criminal conspiracy.
Okay. I'm just given. I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly. So I will take a couple of more questions.
Notice he only needs one finger to silence a room.
Yeah, it was quite funny, wasn't it? But also, did you see the photograph of the piece of paper? Because it was actually about Truth Social. Marco Rubio was saying we need you to approve a Truth Social post to announce it, which I just find
I watched Mark
amusing.
I really like Marco Rubio. I watched him walk into the room, and he had a bounce in his step, and you knew something important was going on. Because as soon as he sat down, he started talking to Carolyn Levitt there, and he started scratching on that, feverishly started scratching on that piece of paper. And then he then went and slipped it to Trump at the first opportunity he had, and then that was the reaction from Trump there.
Reminds me, I have to bring the mood down. So it reminds me a bit of 9/11, though. That's the last time I can remember that happening.
Yeah, but the reaction was
George Bush was sat there.
Hey, the reaction was completely different. George Bush just sat there looking dumbfounded and just kept reading.
With a child's book.
And he didn't do anything. He just sat there. Trump said, I got to go, right?
Yeah, true. And he also told, this is Trump in a nutshell, isn't it? Again, for all you might despise him, many people do. And that's fair. But his immediate reaction was to tell people, to reveal the information. He didn't keep it to himself. He said we're very close to a peace deal in the Middle East. Whereas every previous president would basically keep that to themselves, wouldn't they? That's my instinct.
And he's the threat to democracy, right? The CBC just told us that early in that segment, right? Isn't that what she said? They're going to have midterms pretty soon. It's a threat to democracy. He's sending in the army to different cities, and it's all this threat to democracy. It had nothing to do with the crime that's running rampant and the murders that are happening in those cities. And those federal agents, the National Guard is going to protect federal institutions. Only in Washington can they put them out on the streets because Washington, D.C. is under the purview of the federal government. So in other places, the actual governors have the power to put the troops on the streets. That's why he hasn't done it. The governors have the power to put troops on the streets, but he has the power to put troops in front of federal installations like ICE facilities and stuff like that. So this is where the CBC is wrong. They say you're going to put troops. It's misleading the public. He's not doing that. The governor has to call. That's why he keeps saying, we're going to do it, we're going to do it. He's waiting for permission to do it, right? There's no way. Only in Washington. And what did the mayor do now? The mayor says, we want to keep the troops in Washington, don't they? They say, let's keep them here because the murders are way down. People are going out for dinner and all that. So it's absolute lies and gaslighting intentionally because it's so obvious. It's absolutely obvious. Anyway, we were going to play this thing on CNN, but we already played enough of it. But this one here this is how you cure yourself of TDS. This is a reporter here, a local reporter that she shares her reaction with Donald Trump at this Antifa meeting. Let's listen in on her. The next one, not this one, not Abby Phillips.
Thank you, sir.
Stat number 2?
I am.
All right.
No, not that one. Nope. The one before that. That one.
Mr. President, Brandy Cruz, you're going to hear us be very fired up today, and you can tell, and it's because some of us have been covering Antifa for 15 years and have never had anyone in a position of authority even acknowledge their existence. And I'll also tell you that I think that had you not done, the single most powerful thing you've done to deal with this scourge has been acknowledging that Antifa is a real thing. I genuinely believe there would be people at these tables who would be dead today and would have been killed in Portland had you not called them a terror organization and said we're going to bring the full weight of the federal government to bear. I talked to Katie Davenport in Portland the other day. She'd been assaulted all summer. And she said the same thing. They didn't seem quick to violence as soon as you made that designation. So they're thinking in their heads, they're worried. There's been 24 or so arrested in Portland. They don't want to go to federal prison. There's this video of them, one of them who was in the face of an ICE agent, and then he's in custody shaking. Once you take the mask off, they're nothing.
Right.
And I was told by probably a dozen people not to tell you this. I'm going to tell it to you anyway, because it's relevant to what we're talking about. I'm living proof that you can recover from TDS. I had strong Trump derangement syndrome for probably 8 years. This is one of the reasons I recovered from it. And by the way, it's much better to not have TDS. I'm happier, I'm healthier, more successful. I even think I got a little more attractive after I got rid of my Trump derangement syndrome. Yes. You know, I'm a reporter in Seattle, and frankly, I could not care any less what any of you have to say about this meeting. Could not care any less. We're not here for you. I'm not here to convince any of you that Antifa is a real thing, because if you have not come to that conclusion by now, you are never going to come to that conclusion because you don't want to see it. And you're going to go and you're going to say it's a bunch of right-wing conservative influencers who are here spinning a tale. I was one of you. I was a mainstream reporter in Seattle for 10 years. I was a TV reporter on the streets doing my job, and I was still assaulted by Antifa. So it's not about being conservative. It's about people who go there and show what they're doing. And when I saw, after all those years, that the media wouldn't be honest about what was happening, that Democratic politicians wouldn't be honest about what was happening, I thought, well, gosh, if they're not being honest about that, maybe they're not being honest about President Trump either. And it opened my mind to just looking at things for what they were. And now I find you quite funny, actually. Now it's like I said, I'm much happier about it. But, you know, for me, again, I could not care any less the stories that they go to print. This is what I care about. We have 3.5 years. Nothing is guaranteed, although I think if Democrats keep it up, we'll probably have Republican presidents for the next 3 decades. But nothing is guaranteed, and so what I want to see over the next 3.5 years is a full court press to dismantle Antifa once and for all in a meaningful way. I know, Andy, we talked before this about some ideas. That's really what we want to. I don't care what the media says. I don't care what Democrats say. They will never wake up to this fact. So we want the federal government to take as many of these cases as possible, look at the interstate travel between Portland and Seattle when it comes to these people who are committing violent acts, and hopefully in 3.5 years, they will be a shell of their former selves.
Very close to that, and it's Antifa and many others, unfortunately. Yes. There are many others, bad ones. Most have been named terrorists.
That's good. There you go. Did you see that one guy in the white shirt there look over and just like, when she says I'm going to say something? It's.
I wish I could see the reaction of the journalists that she was, lecturing there.
Mm-hmm. And then just to show you the other side of it here, this is an example of what this nonsense looks like. This lady walked out of an interview. She was doing an interview, I think, with ABC, and the actual reporter, I think it was ABC, was actually asking tough questions. And she said, I'm not standing for this. I'm not sitting here and listening. So, like they're used to just getting their tires pumped. And the reporter was actually trying to do her job, and she walked out of the interview. But she's doing somebody turned this in. She was doing a stream here. Listen in on this.
You ready for stat number 2?
I am.
All right. $632, which is how much you save in fuel and maintenance costs when you replace your traditional car with an EV, with an electric vehicle. So I lease a Chevy Bolt. It is the best car that I have ever owned. I just plug it into the garage, 3-hole prong plug, and I never have to go to the gas station.
That's awesome. And $632 is real money. And I know here at UCI, we have a National Fuel Center Research Center, and they're also doing work on how to make electric vehicles affordable, including for low and moderate income people, working moms, single moms like me, people who really could benefit from an extra $632 in their pocket. And it's also not just the individual savings, but it's also the total savings for our economy. So I'm on the oversight committee, you might know, and that is where we did a study recently this fall in September. And what it showed is if we don't electrify our transportation sector, that we're going to lose more than 500,000 Californians dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems. And the state could lose. Get out of my fucking shot.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't meet the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shot before that. Stay out of my shot. Okay, I'm going to start again with.
Okay, yeah, it's good enough. Did you notice?
I wish that was an abstraction. I wish that was just something that happened somewhere else. But I've encountered people like this in politics. Many. They are just absolutely disgusting people that predominate in that world.
Did you notice that the lady in the background that was correcting her on her information, was wearing a mask as well? In a house, yeah. You took it down.
I also noticed that she was a very submissive slave and allowed herself to be spoken to like that by this disgusting goblin.
Shrieked at by this is the typical left wing, like, they call us far right. People call us far right. I say we're not far right. We're just right, and the liberals here are far from right. And you get these people here shrieking like this, and this is the same lady that walked out of an interview with a national network because the questions were too hard, and she thought that she was being unfairly questioned.
You can just take one look at her face, and you can see that she looks like a very troubled individual.
And according to the CBC there just recently, Donald Trump is the threat, who takes question after question after question from reporters. This lady won't answer to questions and shrieks at her underlings, because they correct her for misinformation.
Vile. Just horrible, isn't it?
And this is one of the reporters from CNBC, and he was at the World Economic Forum. I think a lot less of them will be traveling there as the world shifts away from the WEF. But listen to what he has to say, how you, the pleb, will get to travel and how the elites will get to travel. Listen to what he has to say.
There's going to be people of means who are going to travel, and then there's going to be people maybe who are lesser means who might actually be able to use an Oculus or a Magic Leap or some other kind of device to travel to the same place, but from their own couch. But in many ways,
that's enough.
It's actually going to create even more.
So there you go. So Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau can travel with the jet, but in the future, you can travel with a bag of weed and a Meta glasses.
It couldn't be any funnier, could it? They're hurtling to a Mary Antoinette moment.
They're sitting around talking about that. This is good. This is how we save the planet from carbon emissions. The elites travel because it's important for them to travel. So get this. So if you're good with this is great. So the elites actually get to travel. And then you get to stay home. You can put on some goggles and you can travel as well. But you don't even have to leave. See how they put it to you? You don't even have to leave, right?
And I think he was going to go on to say, and in many cases, it'll be better anyway. I think that's what he was going to say there.
Well, yeah, it's just like, it's actually, like this is why people get angry when they hear the words WEF. And remember, that company...
But this is also why people... pretty serious beans, like that Turchin fella. That's why they're suggesting that we are heading towards a kind of equalization period, similar to the one that we saw in the 1780s in France that involved guillotines.
I guess your life really doesn't matter because it's elitism. And if we put the liberal mantra up that they've been following for the past 10 years, for the benefit of the few, the expense of the many, this fits right in there, right? Doesn't it? This fits right in there, for the benefit of the few, expense of the many. But they are going to give you those glasses, so you can have a look through those glasses. You can be anywhere you want. Maybe a bag of weed to keep you docile. And you should be... what was the other thing they had from there? You will own nothing and be happy. well, the more weed, the more happy, I guess. right?
Some great memes came out of that, didn't they? Also, the German fella, some great memes came out of his time.
Well, he said he's infiltrated most of the cabinet of the
Liberal Party, yeah.
Liberal Party, yeah. And then guess who's there? WEF.
Schwab.
And Tim Hodgson just touted as one of the big American wins that came to Canada is the WEF award winner. You can go on my LinkedIn and read that. It's called Carbon Capture USA. They are the award winner from the WEF. They're going to put up this monstrosity and sell and tax our oil companies. Because why not, right?